In the heart of Los Angeles, a city pulsating with dreams and despair, the late 1960s and early 1970s marked a tumultuous period that would shape the lives of countless individuals and communities. It was a time when the echoes of civil rights movements reverberated through the streets, yet the promise of equality often fell short, leaving many to grapple with the stark realities of systemic inequality and social exclusion. Within this backdrop of unrest and disillusionment, a new force began to emerge, one that would come to be known as the Bloods. The genesis of the Bloods can be traced to the socio-economic landscape of South Central Los Angeles, where poverty, unemployment, and disenfranchisement were rampant. African-American families, many of whom had migrated from the rural South in search of better opportunities, found themselves trapped in a cycle of poverty. The promise of the American dream seemed distant and unattainable, as neighborhoods were often characterized by dilapidated housing, inadequate schools, and a lack of access to quality health care. This environment fostered a sense of hopelessness and frustration among the youth, who yearned for identity, belonging, and a sense of purpose. As racial tensions escalated, particularly following the Watts riots of 1965, the streets became battlegrounds for competing gangs. The Crips, initially formed in the late 1960s by Raymond Washington and Stanley Tookie Williams, quickly gained notoriety and power, asserting control over various neighborhoods. Their rise created a vacuum that other groups sought to fill. Among these groups were the Bloods, who emerged as a response to the Crips' dominance, but their formation was rooted in more than just rivalry. It was a complex interplay of culture, identity, and community. The term Blood itself was adopted as a symbol of solidarity and resistance. It represented loyalty to one another and a rejection of the systemic oppression that had plagued their communities. The Bloods began to coalesce around a shared identity, drawing members from various neighborhoods who felt marginalized and threatened by the growing influence of the Crips. This sense of unity was crucial, as it provided a framework for young men and women seeking a sense of belonging in a world that often overlooked them. Key figures emerged during this formative period, each contributing to the gang's identity and ethos. Among them was a young man named Poochie, who became a central figure in establishing the Bloods' presence in Los Angeles. Poochie was known for his charisma and leadership qualities, drawing young men into the fold with promises of protection and camaraderie. His vision was not merely about gang warfare. It was about creating a community that could withstand external pressures and foster a sense of pride among its members. As the Bloods began to organize, they adopted distinct symbols and colors, most notably the color red, which became synonymous with their identity. This choice was not just aesthetic. It was a declaration of their existence and a challenge to the Crips, who identified with blue. The rivalry between the two gangs intensified, leading to violent confrontations that would define much of the gang landscape in Los Angeles for decades to come. However, the Bloods also sought to differentiate themselves culturally, embracing elements of African American heritage and pride. They incorporated aspects of the Black Panther movement, emphasizing community service and upliftment, albeit in a manner that often became overshadowed by the violence that accompanied their rise. The Bloods' early history was marked by a series of events that solidified their position within the gang hierarchy. One significant moment was the establishment of the Bloods' first sets, localized factions that operated semi-autonomously, yet shared a common allegiance. Sets like the Bounty Hunters and the Brims became instrumental in expanding the Bloods' influence across Los Angeles, each with its own leadership and unique culture, yet bound by the overarching identity of the Bloods. This decentralized structure allowed for adaptability and resilience, making it difficult for law enforcement to dismantle the gang as a whole. As the 1970s progressed, the Bloods began to gain notoriety not just for their rivalries, but also for their involvement in various criminal enterprises. Drug trafficking, robbery, and extortion became lucrative avenues for income, further entrenching the gang's presence in the socio-economic fabric of Los Angeles. The allure of quick money and power attracted many young men who saw few alternatives in a society that had largely turned its back on them. The gang's activities, while often violent, were also a means of survival in a harsh environment, reflecting the complexities of their existence. Yet, amid the chaos, there were moments of community engagement that showcased the duality of the Bloods' identity. Some members sought to provide for their neighborhoods through initiatives like youth programs and community events, attempting to reclaim their narrative from one of violence to one of empowerment. These efforts, however, were often overshadowed by the gang's criminal activities, creating a paradox that would define the Bloods for years to come. The origins of the Bloods gang in Los Angeles are a testament to the intricate web of social, economic, and cultural factors that shaped their formation. They emerged not merely as a response to rival gangs, but as a reflection of a community grappling with systemic injustice and seeking identity in a world that offered little. The key figures and events of their early history illustrate the struggles and aspirations of countless individuals who found themselves caught in a cycle of violence and survival. As the Bloods carved out their place in the annals of Los Angeles history, they became emblematic of a larger narrative, one of resilience, conflict, and the relentless pursuit of belonging in the face of adversity.